Welcome to The Inner Wonder. I'm Alex and I'm your host.
Hi thinkers, I'm Alex and I'm your host. Today the muse for our episode is called Tuesday with Morrie. A couple of months ago, I had a friend of mine and she was going through a phase in her life where she was deciding what was best for her next. Through the conversation, she asked me whether there was a book I would recommend to her that maybe can help her find clarity in the purpose that we all seek. And through that moment, I recalled the book called Tuesdays with Morrie. So I told her, you know what, give it a shot. Take the perspective, take the time to read this book. The book, in a nutshell, what it is about, it talks about, there's two protagonists. There's Mitch and there's Morrie. So Mitch is a successful sports journalist that is very focused essentially on his work. What he comes to realize is that his favorite professor of sociology back in university has ALS and he's about to die in the next coming weeks. So he grasps this opportunity to reconnect with Morrie, who's the professor, the dying professor. In that book, what happens is that we experience the conversations that they keep on having every Tuesday. And through every chapter of the book, the conversation between the wise professor and the successful yet not fulfilled journalist covers different topics. So they talk about love and relationships, how you can embrace death and how that can help you to live fulfilled life, how to reject society's false values, why forgiveness is essential, and then lastly about aging. What is really interesting in these conversations is that through every part of the conversations, Mitch and Morrie, they connect and they disconnect from everything else, and they're just involved and embarked in this journey of the conversation. And through the conversation, they're able to discuss important themes in life that then help Mitch become more wise and find more the purpose through the conversations with Morrie. I would go a little bit about and give you my favorite quotes and then give you my takes on those quotes on each segment. So on life and happiness, which was the first chapter, the first point of discussion that they had, there's this quote that says, "So many people walk around with a meaningless life. They seem half asleep, even when they're busy doing things they think are important. This is because they are chasing the wrong things." And it's true. How many times have you seen people, or how many times have you felt that you're that person? Whereas you're full of energy, you're alive, you're doing things, yet it feels empty and it feels like you're, as Morrie said it, half asleep. And the discussion here is that as much as we're doing things that we think are important, if we don't do the things that we really value, that's not going to give us energy. On death and living fully, Morrie said, "The truth is, once you learn how to die, you learn how to live." Death is, of course, a topic of conversation that for many is scary, and either that it comes as a fear of our own lives coming to an end or someone that we love. But I think what's the real value here is that, and how do we learn how to die, is by accepting that that's a given, and what's important is to focus on how you're living until that moment. And that reminds me of one movie, one show I used to watch when I was younger, that was saying that a lot of the people are fighting against death, but that's not the point. The point is to fight for life, because the reality is that no one was ever able to defeat death in the end. But the whole point is to defeat, in quotations, life. And I think that's pretty insightful in the sense that where do you put your focus? Where do you put your energy? Is it really on how it ends, or on how it goes until it ends? On love and relationships, the quote is, the way you get meaning into your life is to devote yourself to loving others, devote yourself to communicate with others, and devote yourself to creating something that gives you purpose and meaning. In a nutshell, this quote talks about devotion to something greater than what it is ourselves, in order to find the meaning, right? Whether that is family, whether that is faith, whether that is a project that you're on, something that really gives you this sense of purpose, because material wealth is not necessarily what will give you that purpose. And oftentimes it's about relationships. We are human beings. Morrie said at some point, without love, we're birds with broken wings, because we can't even fly. But the idea is that relationships are what makes us human, and we do need relationships, even romantic and not romantic, in order to be able to capture what's our purpose. And that's essentially what could fulfill us, right? Accept what you're able to do and what you're not able to do. This comes in the broader conversation they had on aging. And of course, as we age, there are things that maybe we are not able to do when we were younger. But the idea here is that, well, two things. First, there are things that as you age, you have the opportunity and the possibility to do more than when you're younger, because of all the experience you have accumulated. Of course, there are things that you cannot do. And the idea is not to fight that, but rather to accept it. And this is interesting because it often goes against the idea that, as you age, there is this maybe common saying that say, you should feel 20, you should feel like younger, right? Even if you're 50, you should be feeling like I'm 20. Whereas the question here is, what's wrong with feeling 50? Well, there's nothing wrong. What's oftentimes wrong is what feeling 50 is associated with, right? And it's oftentimes associated with a decay, or with, that you're in a worse situation than when you were at your 20s. And it's not really what Morrie is trying to imply here, is that it's not about feeling younger. It's about accepting where you are and accept the things you can do right now, and accept the things that you cannot do, and just embrace that. Aging is not just a decay, it's growth. It's more than the negative that you're going to die. It's also the positive that you understand you're going to die, and that you live a better life because of it. We've got a strange culture, Morrie said, on the topic of money and success. We worship our work at our play, and play at our work. On the topic of money and success, if you're trying to show off for people at the top, forget it. They will look down on you anyhow. And if you're trying to show off for people at the bottom, forget it. They will only envy you. Unfortunately. Status will get you nowhere. Only an open heart will allow you to float equally between everyone. Unfortunately, oftentimes, it's a game of status. It's a game of gaining more and more visibility of your achievement, right? And this is tags along the lines of external validation. And I've talked about very recently on a podcast with Ryan that is coming soon. But we're often seeking for that external validation that comes with status. And what Morrie is trying to say here is that, listen, the people that are on top of you, they will just look down on you regardless of your status, and the people below will just envy you because of your status. So just have an open heart, because at the end of the day, what fulfillment are you going to get from these people? Because you're not. They will either look down on you, they will envy you. There's nothing really that you're gaining deeply down from that status symbol. If you have an open heart, then you will allow to flow equally between everyone, and it wouldn't matter the on top or the below part. I think status is generally a big topic and a big conversation in our life, and we see it everywhere with people trying to gain more and more of it. So what Morrie is just trying to say is that, hey, there is more that matters and make us fulfilled, and that could be relationships. So even though the book covers a lot of different segments, as I also gave you some examples of the conversations they were having, and there is so many learnings that one can get from this book and from this conversation. For me, what stays with me, and if I was to summarize something, is more on the topic of relationships. And I'll tell you why. Because the point at the end of the day of the book is two people that have reconnected and have spent every Tuesday really having a nice conversation. And there could be value or not in the conversation. There's all these nice quotes that we could all, get and learn from and try to rethink how we go about our life. But at the end of the day, what is really powerful is that ability of two people that have, are now in their either 50s or 80s, and they're there reconnecting. They have been disconnected from everything else at that moment. There's no distraction. It's just two good old friends having conversations that are able to make them fulfilled. And at the end of the day, I'm not sure if what has really fulfilled Mitch is the words that Morrie has said. I don't know if at the end of the day, what really shaped Mitch's mindset is all the advices and the wisdom that for sure Morrie has, or whether it was the relationship that they built through those conversations, and that every Tuesday that passed that Mitch and Morrie met meant something for both of them. It gave them this valuable sense of connecting, of being in a true moment, in a true relationship with each other, which gave them purpose. It gave them purpose on the one hand with Morrie, that of course is a dying man, but even though found that purpose, right? Found that time to sit together with Mitch, an old student of his, and just have this conversation and pass through those meanings. And on the other hand, Mitch finding that purpose of life besides the always striving for this material wealth or status, but through that engaging in a conversation with Morrie. And in that note, I would like to ask you thinkers, when was the last time you sat down with a friend, disconnected, and just had a conversation? Just a deep conversation about anything. And it could be a friend or a partner or a parent or someone that you really, really need to connect with, and just have a 1 hour, 2 hour, no distractions conversation about something. So for me, besides all the beautiful messages that this book has to offer. Life, happiness, death, aging, all these very interesting concepts that are presented in the book. For me, the real wonder of Tuesdays with Morrie, and what I would take from this book, and I strongly advise all of you thinkers to have a read through it, is the deep meaning of a real relationship and of really connecting with someone. So, as we end this episode, I'm gonna connect the dots on 3 quotes that would give us that wonder of connecting with each other. Everyone knows they're going to die, he said again, but nobody believes it. If we did, we would do things different. And thinkers, I think this is again a conventional discussion of, you only live once, or you never know what's gonna happen tomorrow, so try to live your life to the fullest. But regardless of what stage of your life you are, I want to remind you, every one of you, that, as Mitch said it in the book, there's no such thing as too late in life. So take an opportunity, even if it's now, even if it's tomorrow, to still do that connection with someone, because it's never too late in life. As long as it's life, and as long as we keep going, there is never a moment where it's too late. You see, you closed your eyes. That was the difference. Sometimes you cannot believe what you see. You have to believe what you feel. And if you are ever going to have other people trust you, you must feel that you can trust them too. Even when you're in the dark. Even when you're... Thank you, thinkers. Take the time to reconnect.
Until our minds meet again, enjoy the inner wonder you're creating. Thanks, everybody. See you next episode.